Introverts of Reddit, what are the most annoying things extroverts do? Call out quiet people. Sometimes they are introverted, sometimes they have a lot on their mind, but they would probably be talking if they wanted to be, not to be confused with kindly approaching someone who's alone to be friendly or some motive of inclusion. This is more the loudly and belligerently pointing out that X is being too quiet for your taste. Yeah, it's possible they're trying to help, but often I think how come you're so quiet really translates to I can't handle that you're different than me, and I hereby take it upon myself to force you to fix that and become something I understand. I have seen it done in what I consider a positive way versus a negative way. Like a positive way, I was sitting alone on a bus trip somewhere, and a woman who is still my friend today asked if I minded company because she was alone too. A negative way, I was in a dance class and a woman kept calling me out for not speaking up when I was struggling with higher level moves. I think she meant to be helpful, but it just made me feel like the entire class saw my mistakes, which is a socially anxious person's nightmare. Expect you to go out and meet up with them with 30 minutes notice at random moments during the day. I had a friend that I hung out with a lot through various events. We got to be pretty close. Even asked him to be in my wedding. Not long after that, we both made some life changes and weren't attending the same things. So when he'd want to hang out, it was always, "Do you wanna go grab a beer?" Like when? Now? Yeah. And 4 things had planned out, he'd flake on them. I've seen him about 3 times since my wife and I got married over 5 years ago. We live across the street from a brewery and my boyfriend's buddy does this. "Hey, I'm at FOMA's, come have a beer." No dude. I need more than 0 minutes notice. So glad the BF is introverted like me. So he never sees the guy because it's never planned out plans. Always spontaneous. He's annoying anyways. Lol. This so hard. Even my mom still doesn't get it. Unless you give me 24 hours notice minimum, it's gonna be a hard pass. Ask you why you won't go to a party they're inviting you to. And when you say you can't, they demand detailed explanations, and if you're honest and say you'd rather stay home and watch a movie, they'll judge you and keep pushing until you change your mind. And when you don't, it's just awkward. Or you end up going and just stand by yourself quietly, and they make a big deal out of you not partying like everybody else. Once I was at a party and I really was having a good time. I was enjoying conversations with a few people and just observing everything around me. Then my extrovert friend comes up and tries to get me to dance. I said no, because I didn't want to, but then I'm called a party pooper or wet blanket who doesn't know how to have fun, even though I was having fun. Apparently, not dancing or mingling from one group to another means you are having a bad time. Or you end up sitting outside petting the dog all night. Try to force you to be extroverted. Every self-help article about how to date when you are an introvert can be summarized as be an extrovert. I'm introvert, have successfully dated. It of course helps to be attractive, but the other thing that really works for me is just to accept that dating takes effort and will tire me out, even if I have a good time. And that's okay. You don't go to the gym and expect not to be tired afterwards, but that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy working out. Dated once. She was 100% an extrovert. Loved that girl to death. She was the one that helped me get out of my shell a little and do things with people. Miss that girl to this day. I hated dating. Did very little of it. In the end I filled out a questionnaire online and let the internet do most of the work for me. Got lucky. Now I stay home with my introvert BF. Assume that you're missing out by not going to events. I'm super introverted, but for some reason I always get along with extroverts. All my close friends are extremely outgoing and extroverted. They all seem to have this thing where they think I suffer from FOMO when I don't go to events or don't get invited. Like no, I actually suffer from JOMO if anything. Watching your Instagram stories at a club party event surrounded by people yelling and being obnoxious gives me joy that I stayed home. I'm going to start using JOMO all the time now. My best friend of 20 years is very introverted, while I'm pretty extroverted. We did personality tests once, and hers came back saying she is the exact opposite of me, but will be naturally drawn to my personality type. What the heck is JOMO and FOMO? FOMO equals fear of missing out. JOMO equals joy of missing out. Not understand my introversion. I once had a therapist. I told her that I like to spend my free time by myself. But in the workplace you will be expected to work with others. Yeah, I know, I work with others just fine. But you just said you like to be alone. Correct. But how can you work with others if you like to be alone? I mean, if this was some random idiot on the street it would still be annoying, but she was a licensed professional. She should know there is a huge spectrum between people who are the life of the party and people who are so socially inept they can't buy food. I like pizza, but in a pasta restaurant you're expected to eat pasta. Yeah, I can eat pasta just fine, but you just said you like pizza? Correct, but how can you eat pasta if you like pizza? Deciding that their way of life is the way society should be run. Social networking to get a job is the worst. Having to do interviews for a job that you're qualified for when you lack social skills. Being introverted does not mean you lack social skills. Exactly. Many introverts have a switch in their brain that they can flip if they need to. We can act extremely well and can be as charming and charismatic as the biggest extrovert. It's just torture for us. Maybe not torture, but exhausting. A one-on-one conversation with almost anyone is fine, but any sort of group interaction is exhausting, and while I may have enjoyed it, I need a lot of time to recover. Consequently, there's plenty of extroverts who lack social skills. Them, are you okay? You're quiet. Me, yeah, I'm fine. Them, are you sure? Come on, you can tell me. Me, seriously, I'm fine. Them, come on. Me, walks away. Thank you for the upvotes. It's nice to know I'm not the only one. This right here. Watching a movie and something funny happens, them laughs like a hyena, me chuckles under breath or grins, them what's wrong? Are you okay? Me, yeah, I'm fine. Why do you ask? Them, you're so quiet. Me. Yeah, my very extroverted friend asked me if I was okay. I kept telling her I was okay, but she didn't buy it. When she asked if it was because she didn't watch the video I sent her, I had to act like it was. Extroverts in charge of work activities who absolutely insist you must have icebreakers every time. I hate icebreakers. Anytime a meeting starts with "why don't we go around the room," man, I'm already in a bad mood. Anytime a meeting starts, that's when I'm in a bad mood. I'm only in a bad mood when the meeting organizers are late then insist on still having a jibber jabber. Had to do this at an old job once when there was a new department head. Unfortunately I had to go first. It ended up so awkward because I was like, "Hi, I'm Ramsey of the Damned and I just work here," which prompted approximately 30 others to mimic that response. No one was enthused. Invite more people over without telling you first, and you are notified by their walking through the door. The more the merrier, right? Wrong. My roommate would go into my room when I wasn't home. Drove me nuts. They thought because it didn't bother them to have people go in their room, my room was in limit. My family did this to me all the time, especially at the holidays, where they'd imply that it'd just be us, but then their friends would just happen to have dropped by. BS. I don't go to any family events now. My mother did this too. I hated it. When your family chooses put their own needs and the needs of their friends ahead of your needs, then you're right to stop going to their events. When they wouldn't leave me alone, even though I've made it very clear that I'm not in the mood to talk or do anything with them. God, you're so selfish. Don't you know their needs come before your own? The problem is, they don't even understand your needs. They need time and attention, and they don't consider what you're doing to be anything worthwhile. So they think you're just withholding your attention from them because you're rude or you dislike them. I've tried to be candid with extroverts and say, you know, you're asking me to give up my 1/2 hour of free time today just to pay attention to you? And they never get it. They consider me to be not doing anything unless I'm hanging around with people. Hey, you see this book in my hand? The one I'm reading? Believe it or not, I was reading it, so please stop talking to me. Some people really don't get that reading is an activity that some of us seek out, not just something to do when bored. I love reading, but I don't have a good book right now. Any suggestions? I prefer fantasy, historical fiction, dystopian future, but I'll read other types of books as well. The Throne of Glass series is pretty good. Also the Eragon books, if you like dragons. I do audiobooks. Nothing worse than being off in my own little world and getting interrupted for something inane. I know this is asking about all the bad things they do, but I think extroverts can be great when they understand your boundaries and don't exhaust you. My best friend is super extroverted, and sometimes she'll just talk and ramble about nothing, and it's really nice to just hear some monotony. Helps calm my nerves a lot, to be honest. I also get really bothered by people singing for some reason, not talking or humming, just singing, and when she noticed how quiet it'd get when she sang, she asked if she could hum instead. I know some of them can be overbearing, but I like to think of extroverts as big golden retrievers that are just really friendly all the time. Helps me get less frustrated. So loud. How can they be so loud? My husband and his entire family are delightful, loving, extroverted people, and I swear they are also the loudest people I have ever known. After we spend time with his family, I inevitably spend a few days reminding my husband that I'm sitting 2 feet away and he doesn't need to yell. Some people just don't have it. It doesn't matter if we are in a concert or at someone else's place at 3 AM. My sister talks equally loud. You would think, after telling them for the 10th time to lower their voice, they would get it, but I guess that data is not being written to the hard drive for some reason. Interrupt. This is true especially when talking over a quiet person who doesn't speak as often. This is why I don't speak as often around certain people. I know you're just going to talk over me anyway. What good is it for me to talk at all? You're taught not to interrupt in kindergarten. Why is it such a hard lesson for people to remember? For me, and I'm not even an extrovert, it's due to the fact that I grew up in a house where to even get a word in a conversation you had to be willing to interrupt. I picked up the bad habit because otherwise there's no way I'd be able to talk to anyone of my family whenever we get passionate about anything.